In the previous episode of Make in India Summit, we showcased highlights on how India needs to achieve higher growth rates by becoming a global manufacturing hub. This week, we feature a panel discussion on the role of the food processing industry in India.
I'd first like to thank my panel for taking time out and joining us here at the Make in India Conclave. And I want to start with, first observations, and I'd like to get you in, Venkatesh, to kickstart this panel on your current observations in terms of the food processing industry.
In the last 2 or 3 years, we've had the opportunity to put in a few new projects on the ground. What we are seeing is that there's been a tremendous improvement in ease of entry, as you say. The government has streamlined a lot of the regulatory processes, the approvals processes, with a special focus on food processing. What used to take 2 years for approvals earlier is now taking 20, 30 days, which is an amazing improvement in terms of the speed of regulatory approvals as well as streamlining and simplification of processes. The other thing that we are seeing is an awareness that food processing has to be tied right back to agriculture. A number of governments are now partnering with us and companies like us, state governments, to improve the yield of farmers. And improving yield is going to be the fastest way to double farmers' revenue, as the Prime Minister has announced. And today, if we just focus on simple things like high-density farming and using drip irrigation and other things, farmers can increase the yield by 25 to 50% and reduce the use of water and other inputs. So their profits go up and the environment is protected. So a lot of good stuff happening, and we're optimistic.
Sunil, I just want to get you in terms of your perspective about how Indian consumers behave. Indian consumers today largely consume fresh and unpackaged foods. They have an aversion towards processed food.
I think the younger generation today is what United States was in the 80s, okay? Where they don't have time, they've moved out of their homes, they don't know how to cook, they don't want to cook, and therefore the concept of packaged food and everything else that went at that time, and today it's become part and parcel of you picking up a TV dinner or whatever and taking it home. Where's the gap then? Because if the opportunity, you've got millions and millions of people here who are willing to buy that product. The problem starts is when you start manufacturing in India, the cost is very high. So you've got the demand and the need there, but if industry is not able to supply a product at a price which is suitable for India, then you're going to have that gap. And therefore, to make in India, what the government will have to do is, how do you reduce distribution cost? How do you reduce storage cost? How do you reduce the fact as that if I want to make this particular product, do I have consistency in supplies? Can I have everything else? And I think we need to focus in that area rather than just saying that, okay, it's great. And here the government is saying, look, I'm going to introduce GST, therefore distribution will become okay. I'm going to give you X. Are you going to utilize this or not? I'm going to give you storage and cold storage, which we lack substantially now to get the cold storage. And so the real growth in India will come when you get to the masses. And I think Kini referred to agriculture and everything else, because unless you bring about the upliftment in food for them at affordable prices, then no matter what the government does, no matter what anybody does, I think it's going to be a problem in terms of the just making in India that will happen.
Mr. Agarwal, as FSSAI, would you be in agreement that today you see that there is an aversion towards processed foods?
I think the society in India is changing, and in fact, the number of applications that we receive for processed food in various categories is amazing. You'll very soon find all kind of products that are available in the global market, in the Indian market. And we also are encouraging innovation in the Indian food industry itself, so that they can create new product categories which, suit the Indian palate. So I can see that a lot of innovation happening in the food processing sector.
To bring you in, Pradeep, there is no doubt been a slowdown in the farm production growth. I'd like you to throw some light on, Of course, we all know that India is one country, like of course many Asian countries, where you have highly fragmented farming landscape. And hence, I mean, Venkatesh spoke about yield. How do you increase yield if, you're still in that fragmented landscape? I mean, we haven't gotten to any real solutions in terms of actually, consolidation, because we're getting into agricultural plus services, et cetera, et cetera. So how is that really possible?
Just take food sector. We are blessed today we are the largest producers of a whole range of, take pulses, you take milk, you take many other things. We are actually quite large. And for me, productivity is taking waste out of your system first as well. And therefore, if I look at, and the numbers may be accurate, one can keep on debating, but almost 50,000 crores or thereabout is the anticipated waste in the food chain which happens today. Okay. That's a large number. And there are a whole lot of things we can do purely from a technology point of view, which has nothing got to do with the harvesting itself. The real issue of waste starts once the harvesting is over. And I think there lies a huge amount of opportunity which we have. We could talk about cold chains, chill chains, right infrastructure and logistics, warehouses and so on. We could have a whole range of models, which is build, operate, and own kind of models. We can get good manufacturing practices. So there is a huge amount of savings to be done purely from removing waste, apart from, of course, increasing yields. And I think if you want to come on yields, it will be.
I was recently in Andhra Pradesh in a small town near Tirupati, where we're working with farmers, along with our partners, Gen Irrigation, to help them improve their yield through just simple things like pruning their trees properly, growing more trees per acre. This is mango trees. And the reason why it's not scaling up by itself is because most of the farmers are small landholders and don't have access to easy credit. And also the biggest challenge, especially with farming for some annuals and multi-annual crops, is you need a 3 to 5 year staying power, which most of our farmers don't have. And so some opportunities for innovative credit mechanisms for farmers would probably help there. And I know that the government's working on these areas. But it's the knowledge, the know-how is there. The expertise is there. All we need is connecting the farmers to that know-how and the capital that's required.
I want to bring you in, Mr. Agarwal, and I want to talk to you about, the current policy for food and food processing. As the CEO of SSS AI, would you say that there is a need to develop a consolidated policy for food and food processing?
I think in some sense, a consolidated policy now exists, because as far as the food safety is concerned, we have this umbrella regulator, the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India. Though one must admit that this is only 10-year-old and we started functioning 5 years ago. Sure. And in terms of our making a difference to storage and transportation, I must admit that we have not really done very much. We do not have standard operating processes which will basically benchmark the industry to adopt those processes as far as wastage in transportation and storage is concerned. But we are aware of the potential of reducing wastage by adopting good practices in this regard. So in terms of regulatory compliances, we have one regulator. Though there are concerns, there are some issues with coordination, in respect of coordination with a few other departments. And the promotional role for the food processing sector is with the Ministry of Food Processing Industries. So in some sense, we have a consolidated policy at hand, and the Ministry of Food Processing Industries have come out with some path-breaking announcements, and I think they're working on, the 100% FDI in food retail and some such steps, including, the funding schemes for promoting cold chain infrastructure in the country. They are really laudable, and we are working very closely with them that both the promotional role and the regulatory role, they go hand in hand.
Mr. Alag, if I could bring you in now. Would you say, the government's role when it has come to, let's say, evangelizing India as a great space to come invest and make, and I'm talking specifically about food, would you say it's done a good job?
I think what's happening in the government as well as here is it's like the Sea Link in Bombay. You got a fantastic road which comes, and then suddenly you get stuck in Haji Ali because some other rules haven't got changed. And that's exactly what is happening. As far as Mr. Modi is concerned, central government, they want to open up everything. Now, the question that I would like to ask him is that abroad, if there are certain standards for making a biscuit or any food product, they don't have to get a license, they don't have to get any approval, they start making it. But here, you have to get an FSSAI approval first. So a poor chap who's starting off first, he sets up a plant. He's borrowed money, there's interest which he's generating. Now he's going to make that product for the first time. Your guys will come and examine it, and only after you approve it will it go into the market. I think what we need to switch and not become the Haji Ali in the system is there are rules. So you know what the rules are, go ahead and do it. If I pick up a product from the market and I find it doesn't meet the standards, or I come to your thing, I will then stop you. But to wait for an approval is got to be stopped now, because that is the way the government wants to go, or you've laid down.
So Nali, can I respond to the regulatory? In fact, Mr. Alag, there is good news. In fact, no approvals are required from FSSAI for launching new products, because if it is a standard product, or even if it is a proprietary product, we have simplified the regulations, wherein if you are using safe ingredients, then you can introduce a proprietary product in the market without having to come to us. The whole system of product approval is now under suspension. We are reviewing it, and I think it has been eased out to a great extent, and we are now even contemplating, do we actually need a regime of product approval?
Firstly, if between Coke and levers, if one could just bring to the limelight, why has manufacturing slowed down? I mean, they say because of the current labor laws, but if you could just explain if that is actually accurate, and why has there been a serious slowdown?
The businesses can slow down, manufacturing will follow suit, and will probably reflect the economic cycle we are going through, and the whole wider question of where the markets are and stuff. But if the specific question is about labor laws, and if you see in the area of labor laws, there are a number of things we can do to improve things. There is a crying need for simplification, there's a crying need for digitization, and so on. And if I just pick one or two areas, I think we need to simplify hell of a lot all the complex state and central laws which we've got, and there are some industries which are filling up almost 100 compliances every month. Now, I'm not saying 100 is more or less, but it has to be a uniform application and appreciation of what we do in the area of foods. Sure. Second is in the area of hiring and retrenchment. There's a whole series of laws and stuff which prevent good use of, let us say, skilled labor and the like. So these are the two areas which a lot can be done to get the industry far more competitive than where we are today.
Kenny, would you be in agreement?
The slowdown is demand-driven. The slowdown is really demand-driven. A lot has been talked and said about the two successive failures of the monsoons, which has dampened rural demand. But even urban demand, I think what's happened is that the middle class today in India is getting squeezed. There's been a lot of focus behind improving rural incomes, a lot of focus behind simplifying ease of entry for business. But the driving force behind industry or demand for industrial products in India has been the middle class for many years. And over the years, we have not seen any significant SOPs for the middle class, either in terms of taxation or, in fact, in many cases now, in the run-up to GST, many states have been taking up taxes rather than reducing taxes. So I think GST will be a huge game changer if we can ensure that it's implemented quickly and implemented well as industry. It will smoothen the flow, logistics flow, infrastructure flow, but it'll also bring down eventually the cost of products for consumers, and that's going to start the demand cycle up. Supply will follow, and supply will follow. Improving labor laws, improving infrastructure will speeden the supply cycle, but even without those changes, supply will follow.
Coming to multi-layered packaging, I believe that the government is looking to ban MLP. Firstly, how important is multi-layer packaging for the food industry and for the processed foods in particular? And what kind of an impact will you see if that does happen?
MLP, in some quarters it is seen as a problem. MLP also has to, and for some of you who may not be familiar with the term MLP, it is multi-layer packaging, which is a consumption of packaging of a day-to-day use. Most of the biscuits and oils and attas and salts, whatever we have at our home comes in that. And there is a school of thought that it is adding to the problem which we have. Now, if you go down and see the technology which is available to the industry in terms of reuse, recycle, getting energy out of this thing, number of technologies exist to tackle this. The real issue in this country is about collection and segregation. The whole area of waste handling, that's the one which will lead to dramatically change in the years to come. And I think if you take the essence of plastic waste management rules, which has come out in the beginning of this year, March, has got enshrined in it principles of EPR, extended producer responsibility, which is evolving. We need to learn from a lot of countries which do it very well, and then adapt it for the very Indian unique situations we have got. The impact of removing MLP from our economy would actually be big, and therefore we need to be very careful about the debate here.
What would be your one demand from the government to ensure food processing, revs up?
It would be exactly in the area of some of the things which was talked about, going back to the processor, getting the end-to-end value chain. But at the end of the day, it all comes around to see what is the total gain you are having as a business system. And to me, legislation would play a huge role in this. We can talk about
Fair
CSR, 2%, and I think it probably would be much more than 2 if you really get down to the heart of it at the end of the day.
Done. Before I come to you, Mr. Agarwal, I want 2 things that you expect corporates in the food space to be doing better.
We must all recognize that ensuring safety of food that is available for 130 crore Indians cannot be an individual organization or individual's responsibility. I think food businesses have a big role to play, and in the spirit of shared responsibility for safe food, we would expect a 360-degree, all 4-quadrant approach to engagement with the regulator rather than only talking about compliance and standards issue. And we have worked out detailed roadmap for such kind of an engagement with food businesses, which will look at the entire value chain, not only the final product. And we do hope a lot of cooperation from the food businesses in that space.
Can you, your 2 wish lists for the government?
I think I just have one wish list, which is to create more partnerships with corporates and with NGOs where the 3 can work together as opposed to being seen as either adversaries or impediments to growth. I think if we combine forces between what we call the golden triangle of civil society, government, and corporates to addressing something as simple as improving the end-to-end food value chain, we can make magic in India.
Sure. Sunny, I'm giving you the last word.
Look, the important thing is, which I began, and I said it's very, very important. The government is doing a lot. But unless industry understands the problem, we're a democracy. Everybody is going to finally go out and take a vote, and come back into power. We can't forget that. If you don't develop, all of them develop a low margin, high volume game. They can cap the cake with cherries and everything else. This low margin, high volume game is here to stay for a decade, whether you like it or not in India. If you're really going to be a mass thing. And as far as nutrition is concerned, I'm all for it. But just remember that at least I've struggled all my life to match taste and nutrition. Okay, and at the end of it, people want the final analysis of food is taste. And the poor man at this stage is really not concerned. As long as you give him a packaged product which is made in hygienic conditions like a biscuit or anything else. So we must understand what India is all about. And hopefully they'll manufacture and then start exporting from India to other parts, at least to the east, even before you go off to America and all. But we must understand the needs of India, and I think the government has come out and it's time for industry to also. And I would like them to use CSR rather than spreading it all over the place. I think the government should now say CSR is to companies, you stick to your area. put money into farmers if you are an agricultural company. Do not think about AIDS and cancer and everything else, and somebody else will do whatever else there are. Maybe they will need to restrict their money that they are spending on CSR into areas which they are professionals at.
On that note, thank you so much, gentlemen. Very, very insightful points. And once again, thanks for participating in ET Now's first endeavor, the Make in India Conclave. Thanks very much.
I think what we have to understand in a deep and fundamental way, which part of India are you remaking? The informal economy? Or are you just talking about the formal economy?
There is a danger of actually narrowing of focus and making priorities very, very, very narrow.
If you want people to make in India, you have to build infrastructure.
It's extremely important that the narrative of Make in India should also have a narrative of employing in India.
We are a country with a huge, vibrant legacy that we can celebrate, that we can leverage in the market. And there is a huge potential when there is a sector like apparel, expanding with the help of the government. If there is anybody who wants to now attract investment for machinery in the textile sector, this is the time.